Hey, folks, and welcome to Typology, the show in which we explore the mystery of the human personality through the lens of the Enneagram. I'm Anthony Skinner, producer of the show, and have we got something special in store for you today. My good pals, Abner Ramirez and Amanda Sedano, better known as Johnnyswim, are here in the studio with us today. Super excited about them being here. We've been talking about doing this for a while. Their manager, Jay King, is a good friend as well, and we've all been talking about this. Jay's in the studio as well. This episode, Abner and Amanda will be talking with Ian about the Enneagram and how it's played a role in their relationship and their band. And then next week, their manager, Jay King, will jump into the conversation and they'll talk about the Enneagram as it's helped them in their personal relationship and their working relationship. I'm sure you are very familiar with Johnnyswim, but for those of you who are not, you're going to be fans by the end of this show. But if you are not familiar with Johnnyswim, let me give you a little bit of an update before we go into the show here. Their first full-length album, Diamonds, arrived in 2014, and its single Home famously became the theme to the HGTV hit Fixer Upper. The 2016 follow-up, Georgia Capon, yielded another fan fave, First Try, and the duo has sold out dates around the world. Along the way, they garnered acclaim from Rolling Stone, NPR, the New York Times, Huffington Post, Nylon, Du Jour, and VH1. They've performed on The Today Show, Conan, and more. They've even done NPR's Tiny Desk series, which we love. And tonight, they're playing a sold-out show at the Ryman Auditorium. So we're super excited that they're here with us. They'll be singing a song at the end of this week's episode and next week's episode from their brand new release, Moonlight. So make sure you stick around for that. That's it for me, Anthony Skinner. Nothing left to say. And without any further ado, here is the host of our show, Ian Cron.
Abner and Amanda, welcome to Typology.
Yay!
Yes!
We're so
happy to be here, finally.
Johnnyswim is in the house.
That's right.
That's right.
Your new record, Moonlight, has dropped. When did it drop?
April 19th,
April
2019. Your
It's his birthday. Mm-hmm.
And you are on tour right now.
We're in the first week, really.
Oh.
So it still feels very fresh and new, but yes, we are on the road.
Tonight you're playing.
Sold out Ryman.
Sold out Ryman.
So great.
Yeah.
Sold out in 3 days. Three
That
days
is
of on
fantastic.
sale. It's kind of like, I woke up at 4:30 today, and I expected to open my eyes and see the sun, and it wasn't up. And I was like, why do I have this adrenaline? I was like, oh, that's right, you're playing the Ryman. Oh, it's 4, just go back to sleep. I woke up what felt like 5 hours later. It was 4:30. A lot of adrenaline. That's right, you're playing the Ryman tonight. Yeah, it's
That's cool.
Guaranteed bad sleep night before the Ryman.
Yeah. Every time.
So for those of you who don't know, the Ryman Auditorium, the Mother Church
That's right.
here in Nashville, Tennessee, is one of the most, arguably the most prestigious stage in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Every country artist I know, and other artists, right, will tell you about the first time they stood on the stage of the Ryman. That's the phrase,
There's
standing
just like
on the
a
stage.
holiness about it. You don't expect it until you get there, and you're like, you just feel the weight of it. And it feels like you're just part of something so much bigger than yourself, and it's overwhelming and wonderful and exciting and horrifying all at the same time.
Big time.
Well,
First time we stood on the Ryman stage. Vince Gill was sitting stage right, just in the wings, watching the whole thing. And so, we've been doing music for a long time together, singing in front of 7 people or more,
Right.
or less. And so you're used to doing your thing. You're singing your songs. Cool, it's the Ryman. And then you look over, and Vince Gill's just watching.
You're like,
Can I start over? I would like to start over.
Am I pitchy right now?
oh,
Vince, are you having a good time?
Vince, you want to come out and play a song?
exactly. You want to sing for me, Vince? That'd be great.
I know, he is bad, isn't he?
It's amazing.
He is one of my favorite. I mean, Anthony will tell you, man, I listen to Vince Gill all the time.
Well, my very first piece of music that I ever purchased myself was a Vince Gill cassette single.
Oh, wow.
I heard him on the radio, and I was like, Dad, I want to use my allowance. I want to go to the store and buy this. And he was like, let's go. So I bought this little cassette. It came in the little sleeve, it had one song on one side, one song on the other side. But I didn't have anything to play it on in my house because I was like 7, and I didn't have anything. It was like I had a boombox in my room. So I had a Teddy Ruxpin. Do you know what a Teddy Ruxpin is?
It's a storytelling doll.
It's a storytelling teddy bear, and you put a cassette in it, and it tells the story. So I took the story cassette out, and I would put Vince Gill in, and it would move its arms. I still believe Enneagram, and it would sing Vince Gill, and I would just be like holding it in my bed. That's my first bit of music. So
That's
I have a
super
very
creepy.
weird affection towards Vince Gill.
So you know, though, I do that now.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have
Like,
a
that's how I
little
go to sleep
doll. I
every
put a
night.
cassette in a Vince, and I just
lay on it.
Honestly, that's only a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's not
No.
a bad idea.
no, man, unbelievable. I every time he plays the Ryman, I try and get there to see him.
We tried to get him there tonight with us, but he will
Hard
not.
pass.
But alas, he will not be there.
Oh, well then I won't
He
come.
said, "Oh,
I was hoping for a Vince show.
never mind."
All right, so we got the two of you here. Abner, you're a 7 on the Enneagram.
Very 7, sir.
You are an enthusiast.
Yes.
You were already up at 4:30 this morning, anticipating the day,
Yes.
waiting for it to happen.
Yes.
And Amanda, you are a 9.
I am a 99.
Sweethearts of the Enneagram.
Yeah, I like to think so.
They are. And I'm married to a 9. I got
Yeah.
a daughter who's a 9. Who else? I got 9s. I'm surrounded by 9s. Y'all are like the Xanax of the Enneagram. You know what I'm
True,
saying?
yeah.
It's so nice to
Yeah.
have you around. You just bring this kind of sort of radiance of peace and tranquility.
I'm
It's
coming here every
very
day. I love
nice.
this. Keep telling me more.
Come on,
Tell us
bring
the bad
more.
things, quick.
Even the playing field here. Even it out. So, you know, there are certain number combinations I see a lot in couples, right? So
Yeah.
9s and 1s, I see them constantly. 8s and 2s, constantly.
Yeah.
7s and 9s, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I think it's so, for me, in my professional opinion about the Enneagram, I feel like I wouldn't have a career if I wasn't married to Amanda. One, because she's much more talented than I am. But two, because I would still be lost in the clouds all the time. And I wouldn't decide if I wanted to be like a filmmaker or a songwriter or a monk. But I would want to do something like awesome. You
Well,
know?
they're all similar. I mean,
Yeah.
I can see the connection between all those.
You know, vow of celibacy seems cool. Maybe I'll be a rock star.
I don't think I even need to ask any questions
Yeah,
during this
exactly.
interview. I think we'll just let Abner go.
Yeah.
see where we end up.
There's no telling.
No, it's so true. And I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for him because I, was the one that was like, I don't know, I should not sing. It's fine. Somebody else sing. You have a great voice. You go, And he
You
was
should
one that
see
was
the
like, come and
videos.
sing with me. Yeah.
You should see the videos of her childhood where a sibling of hers isn't on the camera, but she's meant to be on camera. The camera's on Amanda. And Amanda, sing us a song. And Amanda's like, oh, maybe I will. What song would you like to hear? Oh, why don't you sing that beautiful song? Her dad's on the camera, holding the camera. Okay, I'll sing it. And then her sister comes blasting her. You don't want to hear my ugly, pukey sister sing? Listen to me. And if that was me, that would be a fight.
Right.
But Amanda, at like 13 or whatever that was, would be like, oh, it's okay. You go. You go. Like, full on.
Yeah, full on.
Were you a middle?
I'm the baby.
Oh.
I'm the baby, but my sister is a year and a half older. I have two older sisters. One's a lot older, but the one that's
I mean,
close
not
to me
a
is a year
lot.
and a
She
half
might be
older.
listening.
8 years, 9 years, 9.5. Doesn't matter. The one that's a year and a half older is, I don't know what her Enneagram number is. She says she keeps taking it. She doesn't feel like it's right. I'm like, but so
That's probably a hint.
Yeah, so she's a year and a half older than me, and she just was, from the time she was born, just needed a lot more attention just across the board. She was like the wild baby.
She was
and
born for the spotlight.
she likes the attention. She wants to be with the grown-ups all the time. And so then I came like a year and a half after her and was just like, you go, you do whatever. I mean, literally just, she just always took over and I was happy to just chill and eat snacks. That's still how I am. Cool, you do what you do and I'm just going to sit here and drink my coffee. Let you live.
You already remind me of my daughter, Maddie.
Really?
Yes. Yes. And in fact, my daughter, Maddie, who's a 9, is married to a 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Lucky girl.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been in a lot of counseling lately. Just, trying to work through some of the trauma of that unusual brew of 9 and 7. So, like, the cool thing about 9s and 7s, and I was thinking about Maddie and Paul getting ready for our time together, and why it is that I'd love to be with them. So actually, just to back up a little bit, oftentimes when I meet with people individually or in a setting like this, when I'm in a group, I just start to pay attention to what's happening in my body. I'll be talking and I'll be listening and I'll be just kind of scanning to see like what kind of energy am I feeling in the moment.
Right.
Because if you listen to what's going on in yourself, it just tells you You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start to get a sense of the weather.
Right, yeah.
Right? And I'm sitting here and I feel like I've had 6 cappuccinos right now. Because we got like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of juice in the room, man. There's a lot of juice in the room. I feel like I got a couple of stallions behind the fence. And they're all kind of running around. And this is what I love, about the Enneagram and just about living sort of attempting and trying to live mindfully and with intentional awareness, is like just picking things up, and just being curious about what's happening in the moment. And you guys radiate the 7-9 thing, which is like both of your types are super optimistic usually. You're not very introspective or brooding by nature. You're good at forgiving and forgetting. You're real good at that. You can make the best of any situation usually. Both of you, like you're on a bus right now with 13 people. Like when I hear about a 13 bus, I'm like, oh boys. Oh my gosh. I would have to be medicated every night. I would literally
say we're not.
No, yeah. We've heard rumor lately of
a lot of vitamin C.
A lot of vitamin C. Yeah.
That definitely all sounds like us.
But both of you are, and tell me if I'm wrong, but neither one of you are very oriented toward conflict.
No.
No.
I do have an 8 wing, so if you cross me, I will let you know.
I've seen her make a grown man at Emo's in Austin. So you're talking about like a legendary venue, not like the Ryman, but a established place. The curmudgeon of curmudgeons, can be in places like this.
Oh, yeah.
And one of those type dudes was yelling at one of our guys, and the man very patiently from stage said into the microphone, "Excuse me, sir, can I talk to you?" He walks over, and she goes, "I need you to bring your boss, too." The boss comes over, and she says, "Listen, if I ever hear one of you speak to one of my guys like that again, we're here to do a good job. We're going to do our best, work hard. But if I hear you talk to one of my guys like that, I don't care if the room's full. I'm packing up, and I'm taking all my guys away because I'm not going to have them around somebody like you." And the guy was like, "Oh, yes, ma'am. Well, and that was a 9 bringing heat like that. That was awesome.
It's that 8 wing. I just nudge me in that direction, and it'll come out.
on.
But
for
the most part, yeah.
This is one of the beautiful things about 9 with 8, right?
Yeah.
Is like when necessary,
Yeah.
right? You have guns.
It doesn't come out. They don't come out
It's
often.
so rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's usually about maybe a couple hours or days later after an event like that, and you're like, do I need to call that guy?
No, I don't have that.
You don't have that?
I don't
You have no remorse.
No, I
no
don't
need
have
to go
that.
back and iron it out.
No, because I feel like if I get to that point, I'm like, you've touched a part that is absolutely uncalled for. And I don't think I come at people like in a rude way. If I came at them and was like, "What the heck are you doing?" Like,
Yeah, you don't come
scream
up.
it. No, it's still controlled, but I'm like, I will not stand for that. That's not going to happen.
Good for you.
I feel like that way. I don't get like
sure.
get just like wild very
I don't think
often.
I've ever seen you other than at me when you're pregnant. Like
Yeah.
yell at somebody.
When I'm like
really,
pregnant and I'm just emotional, then I'm like, I don't like anything. Then I come back and I'm like, okay, I was like cross the line. But I
and
generally,
then I laughed at her and that made it worse.
yeah, because he was like, what is happening?
You know what?
But yeah, generally I don't.
I've never thought about this before, but we have numbers, go to different numbers in stress and,
Yes.
and insecurity, but maybe we should have a different line for where people
pregnancy?
go when they're pregnant.
Yeah.
That's great.
100. I would love. I felt like even just
Wow.
being a mom, because I think when I first took the Enneagram, I just become a new mom, and I was like answering the questions, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to think of like not in this mom zone, like how I would answer it, and it was difficult for me, and I realized that I kept showing up as an unhealthy 6, and which made sense, but I was like, oh, this is like it's a whole thing when you're like postpartum and prenatal, you know,
yeah.
it's a whole different thing.
The lines bend.
Yeah, everything's a little shaky, you know? Like,
So what's your Enneagram? I don't have a number
I'm all the numbers and I'm none of
B.
the numbers.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, D is what you said.
I'm a letter right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Deal with it. That's true.
Hey everybody, Typology Podcast is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of amazing classes covering dozens of creative and entrepreneurial skills. You can take classes in everything from photography and creative writing to design, productivity, and more. So whether you're returning to a long-time passion project, challenging yourself to get outside your comfort zone, or simply exploring something new, Skillshare has classes for you. So check this out. Right now, I'm actually taking a class on, listening, Productivity Today, Managing Attention in the Digital Age with a guy named Kevin Siskar. Think of it, managing attention in the digital age. Lord knows I can use that. Join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for our listeners. Get 2 free months. That's right. Skillshare is offering Typology podcast listeners 2 months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/typologypodcast. Again, go to Skillshare.com/typologypodcast to start your 2 free months now. That's Skillshare.com/typologypodcast. And now, back to our guest. All right, so tell me this: you've been in this relationship for how long? Have you guys been married?
10 years.
Been married 10 years.
Yeah. Together for 13, 14.
All right.
Yeah.
So how would you describe? I've sort of made some, sort of general observations about 7s and 9s. How would you describe your relationship?
Absolutely a balloon with a tether. Like the strong grounding force, which is Amanda, that makes reality, and then me willing to float off in any place. Dreams. I think she helps us make rational decisions or make choices, and I help us maybe expand like our dreaming and it's tough for us too because our relationship just doesn't mean like home for us. It means everything. We don't have a line between business and like career and personal doesn't really, we draw boundaries where we let people in, but for us personally, it's all one thing.
But I think you're exactly right about, obviously being optimistic and finding the bright side and stuff. Like, now when we look back and we're like, oh, remember we were driving in cars and they were just full of garbage, and we played that show in Toledo with a band called Feces Eater. How great was that?
True story.
That's all true stories. Yeah. And then it was like, and after this guy Johnnyswim, and we were like, oh right, how did we get here? What life choices have we made? But I feel like we've said it for years. These are the good old days, and now looking back, you're like, those days kind of sucked if you think about it. But we had a great time. We always had a great time, and didn't matter if we were broke or wound up, or our flights got canceled and we were in some dumb city or whatever. We've always we can have fun wherever we are. And I think that's a 7 and 9 thing too. Like,
we may not be ultra disciplined, but fun shall be had.
Yeah. Don't ask us to have a clean house. But
or a
party
body.
house? Sure. Yeah.
All right, well, how would you describe the relationship?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like, if there's one thing, and I think what he said before too about how we bring out the best in each other, how I can kind of tether him down and be like, okay, I know you want to do all these things, but what about this one thing? Let's focus in on this one thing, or let's make it manageable to some degree. I think that's partially because I'm a very realistic dreamer. Like, I'm like, oh, that would be nice, this one little thing, and he's like, no, that would be nice. And then we kind of meet in the middle of like, okay, let's we're gonna get someplace good one way or another. But I think he's been the voice that's told me over and over that my voice matters when I'm like, not that it doesn't matter, but it's fine, other people have better things to say. And he's the one that's like, no, you need to talk. And that's been crazy amazing for me because it's easy for me to just go into a shell, and I feel like I just give him a safe, good little place to be his 7-ness, to be excited and to have still have boundaries, but still get the fun and the jollies,
So the way I would describe that in my daughter's relationship with her son would be, he's the fire and she's the hearth.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Really, yeah.
Absolutely. And you meant husband, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
What did I say?
Son. I was like, cool.
Like I said, we were in therapy.
That's cool.
I told you earlier, I was in family therapy yesterday.
Didn't realize there was so much happening.
Stuff has been dark, but we're working it out. You know what I'm saying?
We're
a modern family.
Yeah, exactly.
here's where that's evident. In our show, there's a moment where that always stands out to me. I'll typically take a moment in the show, and I'll like just riff. Like we really treat our, we're believers, and we treat our concerts like worship services where everybody's invited, nobody's left out, everybody's seen, known, and loved and cared for, however they are, however they came in. And we're not trying to convert folks, yada yada. But there'll be like a moment in a song, typically during the show, where I'll go on. Like the band will stop playing, and I'll just do something, and I feel so much fire behind it, and I'm like singing scripture or something weird, because it's kind of weird sometimes. And I'm just going and going, and I'll go for like 2 minutes, which is entirely too long. And like I feel it, and like I don't know if anybody got that, but it felt good for me. And like the fire kind of goes away, and we move on. 3 songs later, Amanda will have a moment, and she'll do a thing where she's like, "We're gonna go off rails for a second. I'm gonna do something unplanned," and she'll say one thing, and then I'll go on, and the whole room's like. And then you go on Instagram that night, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Amanda said this, and it just changed my life. I needed that," and da-da-da. I was like, "But I took like 2 minutes, man." Like, and mine will be all like screaming and like top of my register, singing as hard as I can, and she'll just be like, "La," and then it'll just like melt.
Yeah. I used to have. I'm a little bit more like you, right? I'm a self-preservation 4, which means a lot of the time I look like a 3 or a 7, right? And I will have those moments of inspiration, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one time a guy said to me, I was speaking somewhere, and I was just having one of those inspired moments where I thought, I was like channeling Martin Luther King or something, like I was giving my big speech, and and he came up to me later, and he always gave this advice. He goes, he says, "Say less, mean more."
Burn, shot, fired.
Rough.
But you know what? It was great advice.
Yeah,
of
right?
course.
Say less, mean more.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so rough to hear, though.
So good.
I
She's
know.
like, tell me that a week after.
Yeah.
Not the same day. Her dad said to me one day at the show, and it was like a really big show, one of our first big televised things, and it was sound check. And I was just so excited. We were playing with Ed Sheeran, playing with Haim, playing with Lord, playing with all these folks. And sound check, I'm just all in.
Yeah.
And I feel so stoked, walk off stage all hype, just all excited, all happy. And her dad, who's 9, comes in and goes, "Abner, I just want to, before you go up there tonight, like maybe go to 10 and then take 2 steps back."
So that was the musical equivalent of "Say less,
Right,
mean more."
exactly.
Exactly.
That is fantastic. Fantastic. So on that, using that sort of that visual of the hearth and the fire, I think that it's not to say that anybody ever completes the other, right? But that they find this sort of magic kind of interplay, or that one helps the other realize themselves,
their own purpose. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
It's true.
And it sounds like you've kind of begun to, 10 years in, that's
Yeah.
a decent amount of time,
Yeah.
that you've begun to sort of experience the fruit of that kind of, all right, so how about this way? You're differentiated, which means you're your own person.
Right.
While at the same time, you, and so you have an individuated sense of self. I have my own life. I have my own lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And solidity, but that doesn't negate the possibility of communion.
Right.
Because some people get
Not
so
at all.
differentiated that they can't connect with anybody.
Right.
And they
it's
don't want to.
almost,
They see it as a crutch, or they see it.
or they're just too much. How would I say this? They're almost too present in a way in their own expression of self. That it doesn't allow. It's not It's not permeable enough for someone else to be included in their life's conversation. So
Right. I love that. I love that idea.
yeah,
I love that idea because I feel like that's even what we say to our kids all the time is, the world needs you and our family needs you. We need you to be who you were born to be because this is going to all work together in the same way where you need to be the fire, I need to be the hearth. We all need each other, and we all need each other to be who we are supposed to be.
We had this long conversation about our album cover before we made it.
Right.
For this album, for Moonlight, out now. Get it wherever you are.
Wherever
Davey
music is
Spence, a dear
sold.
friend of ours, art directed it, and he's like, "Man, when I see you guys, I see 2 individuals that have chosen to come together."
yes,
And so the album cover is 2 different photographers, 2 different setups, 2 different photo shoots entirely, and we blended the pictures together with clean lines where it clearly differentiates. It's 2 identities that have chosen
His is
to
black
come
and
together.
white, mine's in color. It's like all different, but it goes together.
Yeah. And it's that theme. That's been a big theme. It's crazy timing to be talking about it now, but that's a theme in our life and a theme throughout the album as well.
So The image I like to use, and I do this actually when I'm teaching about nines, because nines struggle with this the most. This idea of differentiation and individuation, becoming their own self. Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier, you were talking about your sister, and she's got lots of opinions, and you would defer, right? It's almost like, oh, you want the spotlight? Okay, you take the spotlight. Oh, you want to sing? Okay, you sing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because to a nine, everyone else seems to have they have stronger opinions.
Right.
Why? Oh, if it's that big a deal to you, then
and
go
they
ahead.
seem to need it. Yeah, it's like, okay.
Like,
so it,
well, okay, so you have a deeper desire. It's like, I have to always tell nines, no, claim your desire and let it be of equal value and importance as everybody, to everybody else. Yeah. You know, like no, stay on mic.
Yeah.
Like, don't give that mic up. You can share the mic.
Right.
But don't give it up to somebody else because
it's so hard.
It is hard.
It's so hard for us.
So going back to this idea of communion, and this is something I work with nines on oftentimes, is the idea that, okay, you got two candles. They're separate. They're different. And when you light them, they have their own flame. They have their own light. Both have their own light and flame. So what communion looks like is when you bring the flame of the two together, right? And then it's undifferentiated, right? You've got this beautiful communion of two flames. You can't tell that they're two different things. They're one flame, but they're both still individual sticks.
Yeah.
Sharing that flame. And so that's the paradox and the beauty of a great relationship is it can become one flame, but two candles.
Yeah.
If one of the candles, the nine usually, wants to merge and become one candle with a big assertive personality like a 7, that's not good. Mm-hmm. That becomes this kind of merged, or it's actually called fusion, where the one wants to fuse with the other, and the 9 will often self-delete in order to make that happen. Like, how do I disengage from my own energy, my own passions, my own mission to take on that of the other, right? And that's called merging or fusion. And that does not end well usually. But again, what I sense with the two of you, like none of that activity is going down here. It's like, nope, you came in the room, you were two different people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm not interviewing one person today. I'm going to be interviewing two people today. All right, so listen, we're going to come back in just a second and talk about a little bit more about your relationship. We're going to talk more about the dynamic of working together, not just living together, but traveling together with 13 people on a bus, which to me sounds like a return to drinking. Speaking of a return to drinking.
Strong agree.
Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about my friend Michael Cusick and Restoring the Soul. Anthony.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
One of the lessons I've learned, Anthony,
tell me,
is that not everybody benefits from a traditional 50-minute hour or even from the typical weekly sessions. And this is why some people, even though they may have a great therapist, can go to couples therapy or personal counseling for months or even years.
Sometimes we need more.
That's right, because some folks, they never really get anywhere if they're just going on a weekly basis. They don't make any progress.
That's right.
So this is why I'm such a fan and a believer in the intense counseling process at Restoring the Soul in Colorado. Restoring the Soul was created by my longtime friend Michael Cusick, who helps couples and individuals experience deep change in half-day blocks over 1 or 2 weeks. Michael and his team know that sometimes you can't wait months or years, Anthony.
That's right.
To get to the bottom of an issue or experience breakthrough. So I want you to get a hold of Michael and his team. If you really feel like you're in a rut and you can't wait months or years, you can call Restoring the Soul for a free consultation. That's 303-932-9777 and learn how their intensive counseling process can jumpstart your journey or launch you to a whole new place in life. So you can be as healthy as Abner and Amanda. And as a
famous last word.
And there's a special bonus just for typology nistlers. Let's stick with it. Make sure to visit www.restoringthesoul.com/typology to download their PDF called, Anthony.
Hey, 5 ways unaddressed trauma may be derailing your relationships.
And now, back to our guest.
Why do I feel like I need to puke just after hearing that? I'm like, oh God, I need to go to therapy. For real.
Well, then let's just visit that for a second.
I do.
Well, now that you mention it.
For real. For real, though.
So when I've had 7s in therapy before, here's often what happens. They'll come in and they are so charming. And they're so fun. And most therapists are so fooled. Because they come in with all this joy juice and the therapist starts to think, why did this person need to see a therapist?
Right.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they come in and there's so much juice and jazz going on, and it's like
jazz?
wow, I'd like to have you be my therapist, you know? Apparently you're confident, you're charming, you're everything I wanted to be in high school, damn it. So, I mean,
Yes.
now,
I don't know. We could say, damn it.
hell yeah, you can bring it.
Let's go.
So, what happens is, if you sit with 7s long enough and you don't get on the bandwagon of all that joy juice, which is fabulous, it's wonderful, I love it, but you did come to me for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of times I just sit and watch, and I just wait for it to kind of burn itself off.
Took about 30 seconds with Abner sitting down here.
Yeah. Just listen to that ad. I was like, oh, let's go. Let's fix everything. Let's go for it.
For 8 minutes, let's fix everything.
Yes, please.
But usually, oftentimes what happens with 7s in a counseling session is they'll say something like this. Yeah, so I actually had a really, really fun childhood. We had a porch swing, and I used to sit on it with my grandmother, my abuelita, and we would sit there together, and it was fantastic. And she would tell stories, and my brothers and sisters would run around the lawn, and we'd have barbecues, and we'd do this, and and I had this great uncle, and he was fantastic. He took me fishing. That was the year after my father died when I was 11, and I can't begin to tell you. And you go, whoa,
Wait a second.
whoa, rewind. And they'll look at you, and then the eyes go like,
Yeah.
Oh, they caught
Busted.
it. They caught
Yeah.
it.
I let it out,
Yeah.
and I got busted. And I'll go, say that again?
Yeah.
Okay, now, just interesting. Just as I said that,
Oh, yeah.
Triggered him.
you took a
Yeah.
deep, big
Oh,
breath. Right? I just saw you go,
Yeah, man.
all right, let's talk about the deep breath. What happens when I describe the
I
sounds like that?
honestly think about reading your book, and I think about Amanda telling me that I'm not going to be able to get through my chapter about 7s. And I was like, yeah, watch this. I'm going to read the whole chapter. And I couldn't. I had to put it away, and I said to myself, I'll finish it tomorrow. To this day, I've never read the rest of that chapter.
I'm very wounded. I'm a 4. I feel abandoned right now.
I believe it, actually. And it's so easy to focus on all this stoked stuff, right? And I think as a songwriter and as being married to a very strong, independent, amazing woman, I'm forced to look in a lot, because she is quick to ask, Mary, well, what's that about? Like, what are you acting like that for? And I'm talking in circles because I have this massive fear of abandonment. My dad was taking me when I was a kid for something he didn't do. He didn't commit a crime, but was put in federal prison. He didn't speak English, had a public, whatever. It was a rough time, and I often think to myself exactly that. It's been good. Like, I've always been. What's the saying? The duck that the water just rolls off their back. I've always been that way. Nothing really gets to me. It just takes a second of hearing what a 7 sounds like to be like, oh God, that's so me. Like, everything hasn't been awesome. Everything's been rough. We were the first people of color that moved into our neighborhood when I was 6. First house my mom ever bought in a little town called Marietta. I have a song about it. And we had a burning cross in our front yard in the first week, as our welcome colored people to our neighborhood. Dad was gone. Like, it was actually really rough, and it's tough to kind of face that maybe I'm like this because of all the clinical reasons.
Yes and no. Yeah, I mean, I think that when a person takes their unique charisma, this gift, this, for you, this joy that I think is a divine joy, right, that you bring to the world. It's not to say that you don't bring many other gifts, but it's like you have this specialization. It's like you majored in joy, and I think that's a God-given thing.
Yeah.
Right? But when you use that joy in service to the protection of your own ego and the interests of your own self, it becomes selfish, and it turns in on itself, and it becomes a way of manipulating the world to cooperate with your own comfort and ease, right?
Yeah.
when it's directed not toward the ego's service, but toward what God's up to in the world, then it allows suffering to come in, and it's not afraid.
Yeah.
And 7s are, even though you guys look confident and together, you are fundamentally afraid.
Yeah.
You know?
I disagree completely. See, I got to turn it to a laugh for a second.
Yeah.
No, see, that's right. If I was in therapy, I would just go, yes. I'll just let you keep telling jokes, man.
Yes.
I just let you keep telling jokes until they were done.
I do agree. And I didn't know that until I was married. There was a moment when Amanda and I were in an argument. Now I get asthma. Look at this. Like, as soon as I start talking about this crap. Why are we here again?
Because
Amanda and I
of
were in
this.
an argument. Excuse me. We're in an argument, and it wasn't like we've always been the don't go to bed angry or don't go to bed unresolved, or at least don't go to bed apart from each other kind of folks. And we couldn't settle this argument. And she's like, I'm just going to sleep in the guest room. I was like, fine, go sleep in the guest room. I don't care. And I totally cared. And so I'm in our bed, and she's in an inflatable mattress on the floor in our, like, guest room. It wasn't even really a guest room. I'm, like, bothered. I'm like, no, I'm going to sleep. Her loss. Inflatable mattress, bed. And I'm just, like, shriveling up on the inside. And I spend the whole night in the bed, but I didn't sleep. And so I go to the room, so mad. I go to the guest room. This is a kind of a massive moment in our relationship, and I can't believe I'm talking about it. But I will not regret it, and it will stay on the podcast. And I say to her, you can't do that. I walk in, like, yelling at her. First thing in the morning, it's like 7:30. I wake her up, screaming, you can't do that. You can't go sleep in another room. You just can't do that. She goes, well, that very, like, logical responses. She was also pre-law at Vanderbilt, magna cum laude, whatever. She's super smart. I get it. She's like, well, then we need to talk about that. She starts wanting to talk about details. I was like, you can't. And I literally, my hands turned to, like claws. My shoulders sunk in, and my back hunched over. And I said, you can't leave me. And I just screamed it and started, like, weeping like I don't know if I've wept before or since in my entire life. It's like, you can't leave me, and snot and spit and whatever. And she's like, oh my God, oh, come here, let me hold you. Come on, I got you. I said, no. Then I literally said, don't look at me. Don't look at me. I was so ashamed because I couldn't control it. I've never felt that in my life. And I'd never realized this well of fear of abandonment. That's kind of crazy that I feel like I can already see, like, in my 4-year-old. And I don't know how much of that sticks to your DNA, how much of that can go on to the next generation, but I feel like I can see it in my kids too, like this thing. But anyway, I remember going to the kitchen and I physically unraveling, like reassembling, actually, like watching my hands kind of go back to normal, straightening my back. Like, okay, I don't know what just happened. I guess we need to talk about it, whatever. And I didn't know that fundamentally there was a drive of fear in me, and that's what made me so uncomfortable reading your chapter about me, because I know you wrote it about me, is I don't like having to face that truth that there is a fundamental fear. And for me, it's a real fear of abandonment, and among other things, I'm sure.
So on the Enneagram, we have 3 triads, and I think we have what they reflect is a deficit, right, in a particular area, that fundamental need that every human being has. So if you think about 8, 9s, and 1s, I think the deficit that you all wrestle with is around power. It's how much power do I have to affect change in the world, assert power, mastery. How can I get the world? Can I, in fact, get the world to respond to me?
Right.
You know.
Very true.
Right, so 8, 9s, and 1s, and they deal with it differently. So for 2s, 3s, and 4s, be issues around esteem and approval. It's really which every child needs. Every child needs what I just described for 8, 9s, and 1s. They all need esteem and approval, right? So that would be, can you love me for who I am? And so then 5s, 6s, and 7s would be issues around safety and security, right? So those are fear management systems. 8, 9, and 1. Those are, anger management systems, or, power systems. And so for 2s, 3s, and 4s, that's really a shame management systems, So for you, realizing that your 7 qualities, right, your personality qualities, are both beautiful and necessary in our world. But when used in service, as I mentioned earlier, to the ego's agenda, they become ways of coping with fear and anxiety in a way that is counter to what it actually will create the environment in which you are more likely to be abandoned rather than to get the security you really want.
Yeah.
Because after a while, if you're just Tigger,
yeah,
people will leave you.
Yeah.
And well, then what happens? Well, you double down and you try even harder
Yeah.
with an old system that doesn't work. And it just, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So until you interrupt the circuit on it, and this is true for every number. Every number has this issue. Until you can interrupt the circuit on it and become self-aware and regulate it and go, no, I'm in my BS right now.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We can say damn, right?
Can we say bullshit or no?
No, you can. No, that's all good.
Absolutely.
So the other night, I was talking to my son-in-law, who's a 7, and he called me to invite me on it was a wonderful conversation to ask me if I wanted to go camping or to the Grand Canyon this summer. He wanted, let's go get it. We're gonna have like one of those Mercedes Sprinter things, and we're gonna go to the Grand Canyon. And I love it when I was 7. I'm a 4, so like right. And he's like, yeah. And now originally he said, oh, let's just go camping and in the Rockies, and I was a little bit like, And then I said, yeah, but I said, I've never been to the Grand Canyon. He goes, you've never been to the Grand Canyon? I mean, seriously, this is a guy who is perpetually surprised. You know what I'm saying? There's always like, what? You've never been to the Grand Canyon? Awesome. I love him.
That's awesome.
So he's like, well, we can get him. And then all of a sudden the plan starts. I said, yeah, you know what? I've been telling people for years I want to go to the Grand Canyon, but no one ever listens to me. And he goes, stop right there. He goes, you need to tweet that out right now. It's the most 4 thing I have ever heard in my entire life. I have been telling people for years that I want to go to the Grand Canyon, but no one ever listens to me. Now, what he was doing was helping me actually, because we have this, he and I have a common language around the Enneagram. What he was doing was helping me laugh at the fact that that's actually really true. Yeah. That is all 4 behavior. And if it's not called out by another or by myself, in the moment, you know what I mean? As my BS. Yeah. Right? Then I'm just going to continue on these automatic patterns that actually thwart relationships for me. Wow. And that's where you get these repeating dramas. It's like, I have been through this 5,600 times, Oh my gosh, can't wait to do this one again, probably tomorrow, So that was very moving, and I just want to actually say, I want to sort of name that was what you shared was sacred. So I don't want to fly by that without acknowledging it and saying thank you for your willingness to own that experience and to share that experience. And what was that like for you, Amanda, in that moment?
Well, I think I always kind of knew that he had a little bit of that. I mean, I knew his backstory since before we started dating, and I was always kind of amazed. His whole family is just amazing. Like, his dad, when he was alive, was just charismatic and amazing, and his mother's maybe the sweetest person on earth. And I would always say she has every reason to be bitter. I mean, coming out of Cuba and, with the shirts on their back and everybody dying around them and being able to make a life here, and here they are, and then he gets taken away at, like, just when they start getting settled and start feeling like they were finally free, his dad gets taken away. And for 13 years, from the time he was 3 to when he was 16, all his formative years. And his mom is the sweetest person. She has every reason to be bitter, and she's just sweet, And so I was always really just amazed by their family and how they were all able to kind of take their crazy lives that, I think all of the rest of us probably would have just been destroyed by, and just build beauty out of it. Like they just have a garden of, in their lives of sweetness and kindness and compassion because of, what they went through. I noticed it when we were dating, because we fought a lot when we were dating, and I was always kind of like, why are you like nitpicking about stuff? And I realized as soon as we got married, we kind of just stopped fighting, and I was like, oh, I think you were just nervous I was going to leave, and you're, as soon as we got married and it was official and we were like, we knew the commitment that we weren't going anywhere, it was like a lot of his behaviors, a lot of the tension kind of stopped. But in that moment, I think I kind of realized, like, oh, I think you need to go to counseling for a lot of this, because it's easy, with him to just think he's doing great and be like, he's just really processed it all really well, and he's found the joy in it, and he was able to do a lot of amazing things, and people really took care of him, and he's just had a blessed life, despite all this stuff. And I think that was the moment when I was like, oh, it's still really there. It's still really, because it wasn't like, I mean, I don't remember it being a horrible big drag out fight. It was kind of one of those things like, we're both tired, we're both not making good choices, like, let's just both process on our own and sleep in separate rooms, and we'll figure this out. It wasn't like, I'm gonna go sleep in the other room, I don't want to be near you. It wasn't that. It was like, kind of like,
Cool, because she's a 9, so it wouldn't be that.
Yeah. Yeah, and my 8 wing wasn't coming out. So for me, it was kind of like that's still very, very there, and it's not super deep under. It just takes the right little door to open. And
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did it scare you?
No.
Huh.
I was actually happy about it. I'm like, if that's in there, then like let's get it out. Like that shouldn't be in there, and you shouldn't have to carry it by yourself. If that is there, you shouldn't have to just be like suffering and be nervous by yourself.
Yeah.
Like I can hopefully help bring salve to that.
Will you marry me?
I did. And yes. You know?
Well, I mean, I think the Enneagram helps people sort of identify the one line of corrupt code.
That's good.
That's good.
That is good, huh? Damn.
Right? In the operating system that really, unbeknownst to them, is holding them hostage. Right?
Wow.
So for you, and I think you were describing it really eloquently a moment ago, which is, no one will be there to support me. If I have this experience of grief or disappointment or stuckness or boredom or any in this difficult circumstance, there will be no one here to support me. And so 7s, start racing into the future, so they never have to face in the immediate anything that they would have to cope with alone, right? Yeah. So that's the story in the 7's mind, right? Now for 9s, it's a different line. The corrupt code line is different, right? Yeah. So what do you think it is?
I think it is feeling like my voice doesn't matter, I would say, is like I think that's the lie that kind of comes up a lot. Like everybody else matters. Everybody else has something better to say. I don't really have anything that great to say, so I should just shut up. I think that's what it is for me, at least. I don't know. You tell me.
You got so nervous halfway through that. She's like super confident and then dwindled.
Yeah.
So that is.
And there it is. Yeah.
So clearly, a lot of 9s report that.
Yeah.
Right. That is sort of one of the quintessential messages that 9s hear, and because of it, they disengage from this sort of instinctual energy that you as a 7 have lots of, right? And so for 9s, this journey toward what I call reclaiming personal authority, right? The ground beneath their feet.
What is that? No.
What's that? Yeah.
What is personal authority? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's. I remember one time I was. I can't remember where I was. It may have been like at an AA meeting or something where I was, and somebody was talking, and they were reflecting on some aspect of their life, and they said, I woke up one day and I realized I have a right to live. I have a right to live. And I remember having that sort of like, just, tweak my heart a little bit. Because I don't think 9s often feel like I have a right to live at the same level of intensity and engagement as everybody else. It's almost like there's a reflex to defer or to accommodate to people who have more energy, this life energy. Right. And it's like, well, I can get smaller so you can get bigger.
And I feel good being smaller. Too. It feels nice.
Right?
Being smaller, you think, at least.
It feels nice.
It feels nice feeling smaller.
Tell me about what that feeling of nice is.
I think it's like, if we take my sister, for example, somebody who's like, she was valedictorian, she was, always had to be the best. Like, I was like, I just want to get good grades. And she was like, no, I have to be the best, and she always, she was the performer in the family. She was the one, and I was, a year and a half behind her. And so it was either like, are you going to try to compete and be on the same level? It almost feels like it's one or the other. Like, either I have to like work my butt off and I'm going to try to get to the same place, or I'm going to let you have it and I'm going to go down. I'm just going to chill right here. And right here, I'm happy and I have great relationships and I have fun with my friends, and I don't feel that I don't have the pressure of having to try to be on the same page, because it's almost like it feels like it's one or the other. So that feels nice and safe and cozy to kind of just let somebody else, you take that lane. I'm going to take the coasting lane, and I'm going to eat my snacks. Snacks are a very, very important part of my emotional well-being. In case you didn't notice.
Well, that's actually very nine-ish. Yeah, it's actually, and I'll just so for all you nines out there, that can be an
Get your
okay
snacks,
thing.
yeah.
But also nines, it's like one of the central ways that nines will narcotize, and that's the defense mechanisms of nines.
Food? Snacks?
Did you hear the way she's saying that?
Don't take away my snacks, Ian.
No, listen to that. So she goes, wait, are you talking about snacks? Like the whole pitch of the voice goes
thing.
different.
I turn into a child.
I feel like
cartoon child.
we're watching Teletubbies on the air
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Snacks. So my daughter Maddie actually uses this word. I want a knack. She says that.
No way.
So
No
nines.
way.
Yeah. She'll say, I want a knack. So here's a picture of a nine. We were in the car one time. I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned this in the book or not, but I got an 8 in the back seat of daughter who's an activist, right? And I think we were driving by like a Black Lives Matter protest in Manhattan, right? And my daughter, if she sees a protest march, it's like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of this car. I gotta join it.
Yeah.
In fact, I gotta lead it.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like she has, literally that kind of energy comes in. My son is a 7. And he just loves to kind of like rile her up because to him it's fun,
Yeah.
right? And he's not scared.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll just disagree with her about everything she's saying just to see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like get this.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
love
you too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? He's a
That is
contrarian.
great. Yeah.
So
But for fun.
But for fun,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's not like another 8 that really wants to
Right.
like 2 Thors in the
Right.
car.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, like Greek gods, in the car, like lightning. It's like, no, he's like, I'm just gonna poke around, see if this gets to be good.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Now, when this happened, my wife, who's a 9, is actually, I'm watching her. She's trying to ping pong back and forth to kind of like smooth this thing over, right? I'm a 4. I'm like, trying to figure, should I write a poem about this? Should I? This is getting tough in here. I'm a withdrawing type, right? What do you think? And Maddie, I looked in the back seat, and Maddie was curled up like a cat, and she'd fallen asleep.
Yo, that's crazy. So the first time Amanda and I went on to a party, it was St. Patrick's Day. It was at a house here in Nashville. Crazy lights. The music was loud. Everybody's dancing. There's drinks. There's dancing. It's loud. It's dark and it's bright because the lights had like moving lights in the house, or whatever. I immediately go in. I make drinks for us. I dance with some friends on the way back to Amanda. Amanda had fallen asleep on the couch. Like within minutes of walking into the room. And that honestly like freaked me out. I was like, who is this person? Like it's a party.
Too much.
It's like a full throttle party.
I think he did think I was like psycho or like on something, and I was like,
But not like
too much. I
like
don't know.
fell asleep.
Right.
That
I'm
just freaked me
done.
out because I've never heard of somebody
yeah.
else doing that. That's
Oh yeah. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen 9s that will do that. I mean, my wife, even when she wasn't pregnant, like when we were first married, at 9 p.m. it was like I could set my clock to it. We could be out with friends, and I would look over at her, and it would be like, her head would be lolling back, just sort of fading
Why
off.
though? Why are we so tired?
No, I just, it's charming.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. If it's self-aware and you have an element, you are aware enough to know, to be able to stop in the moment and to practice self-inquiry.
Right. Yeah.
Where am I going right now?
Yeah.
Is it I'm tired, or is it I'm checking out
Right.
from the situation?
Most of the time, that's for sure. I'm like, this is too much. I'm
Right.
out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, so just
Too
don't.
much.
I'm always like, don't live on autopilot. If you're gonna do something, know
Yeah.
why you're doing it.
ooh, that's great.
Like no.
Yeah.
And then make choices.
Right.
Because the choice may be, I really didn't want to come to this party, and I'm falling asleep.
Right.
And a lot of times the 9, that can be what's happening. It's
Yeah.
like I didn't actually want to come to this party,
Right.
and the way I'm going to express my displeasure about being here
Right.
is
It's-
I'm going
just
to
gonna go
leave.
sleep.
I'm going to stay.
I'm gonna be here, but
I'm
I'm
going
gone.
to leave.
Ooh.
You know.
See? That's asserting our power.
Can I tell 2 quick Amanda 9 stories?
Oh no.
Our
Yes.
first argument was right down the street. I used to be a food runner. I never elevated to server because I kept getting fired and rehired. I got from PF Chang's just down the street from here. And I remember I was pulling up, coming up to Mac Hatcher, and I called Amanda, hey, everybody's going out, there's a thing at so-and-so's house. We're going to go at and I'll come pick you up. We'll go. And she literally laughed on the other line, on the other side of the phone. And I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, babe, it's 9:30. I was like, yeah. The party starts at 10. And it was our first legit argument. She's like, I'm not going. I'm already in my pajamas. I've got a book I'm going to read. That I've drawn a bath. I don't know what you were doing. I don't know what people do that go to sleep without just passing out.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what I do. And the other story was we were in Orlando. We were at Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure. And we're riding this Incredible Hulk roller coaster ride, which is a fantastic roller coaster. It starts all at once. So instead of like the tick, 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 tick up to the top of the mountain, and then just gravity lets you drop, this goes tick, tick, boom, and you launch up the thing, and it's like full adrenaline. It's like if Seven was a ride, it's the Incredible Hulk ride at Universal Studios. And so, they do the, ma'am, can you push out? It's like the 16-year-old just kind of bored. Can you push out, make sure your thing's locked? Yeah, tick, 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 tick. We all, you shake it. It's this chest strap that you shake to make sure you're thoroughly secured in this ride that's going to do flips and spins and all this stuff. And so we start riding. Amanda checked her security, and it was fine. And I'd done the ride before, and so I knew it was just like 3 seconds of fake slow motion, and then we would launch up this tunnel and start this crazy ride. And in that 3 seconds, Amanda decides to check her security one more time, and it goes, and it comes out.
No way.
Like, and in my memory, it was enough for her to slip, and in her memory, it was enough for her to slip out. It wasn't fully loose over her head, but certainly a few inches came loose, and then at that point, what do we know? Like, is it going to do it again? And I grab her, and I'm like, not even screaming, just this intense grab, like nothing's going to happen to her. I couldn't understand what she was doing because she was flopping around a whole lot.
I did it, and it shoots right
Oh, yeah,
after.
as soon as she does it, it launches. It goes, she's just enough time for her to look at me and go, and then poof, we're launched like a rocket through this thing, spins and flips and all this stuff. And I'm holding on to her, and I can't even look at her face, but I do know she's like flopping a whole lot, and I'm like, oh, that thing must be real loose, which it was, but she's flopping like a lot. And then we get done, we get off the ride, we're sick to our stomach, and I go see the picture for whatever reason. We're walking by, and I notice it, and Amanda had gone completely limp. Eyes closed, passed out.
No way.
On the ride. As soon as it happened, just
That wasn't
ragdoll.
a 9 thing. That was because in college some drunk kids fell down an elevator shaft, and the one survived because they were like drunk enough that they went limp, and I remember everybody saying that, so I thought, I'll just go limp, and then maybe I'll survive. Yeah. So I just played dead.
So when I think of Amanda,
that wasn't really a 9 thing. That was more just.
I still think of it as a 9 thing because when I think of you as a 9, I think of you at St. Patrick's Day party falling asleep on the couch within 10 seconds, and you in the face of death taking a nap.
Maybe true.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna actually do a two-part show here. So
I
want to end on that note. Amanda flying out of the ride at Universal Studios, but actually I really want to wrap up on a song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're not letting you get out of here on either one of these episodes without a song. So
Let's do it.
What do you got?
Oh, song.
What do you want?
Yeah, song for sure. I see there's guitars on the wall. I'm very excited to play one of those. What's a song we could do, Amanda? Do you want to do... Let's do The Last Time. It's about the first time we met.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, Typology listeners, Johnnyswim, Abner and Amanda singing The Last Time.
The last time that I saw someone that I want was the first time I saw you. The first thing that I thought wasn't my last thought, it would be of you. I don't wanna stay here longer than I need to, and I don't wanna wait for love. I ain't got the patience, all anticipation. I don't think I can make it love. But I can, but I can, but I can. But I can, but I can, but I can. If it's for you. If it's for you. Oh, but I can, but I can, but I can. But I can, but I can, but I can. If it's for you. If it's for you. I always thought it was dumb. A fool falls in love once and for always. Then darling, there you come. Stole my heart out on the run once and for always. I don't wanna stay here longer than I need to, and I ain't trying to wait for love. I ain't got the patience, all anticipation. I don't think I can make it love. But I can, but I can, but I can. But I can, but I can, but I can. If it's for you.
If it's for you.
Oh, but I can, but I can, but I can. But I can, but I can, but I can. If it's for you.
If it's for you.
The bullet on you shot it. Ain't no trying to stop it. I'ma let it pass on through. Hold on if you got it. Ain't no trying to stop it. Let love make a fool of you. But I can, but I can, but I can. If it's for you. I can if it's for you.
But I can, but I can.
I can if it's for you.
It's for you. But I can, but I can, but I can.
Oh, I
But I can,
can.
but I can, but I can. It's for you. If it's for you.
Bullet on you shot it. Ain't no trying to stop it. I'ma let it pass on through.
I won't be there.
Hold on if you got it. Ain't no trying to stop it. Let love make a fool of you. The last time that I saw someone that I want was the first time I saw you.
Wow. Wow, wow. Abner, Amanda, thank you both so much for being here with us in the studio today.
Absolutely.
Hey, love you too. So grateful for you both. Everyone, be sure to go to iTunes today and check out Moonlight, Johnnyswim's brand new album. Hey, and be sure and stick around next week when we have part 2 with Abner and Amanda, and we'll also next week introduce Jay King, who is their manager, and we'll talk about the Enneagram and how it's enriched their relationships, both personally and professionally. Hey, don't forget to follow us on social media at Ian Morgan Cron. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and at Typology Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Hey, that's it for me, Anthony Skinner. We hope you have a fantastic week. See you, folks.